Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Hey, everybody, this is Michael J. Maher with the latest and greatest episode of Referrals Podcast. Thank you so much for people emailing us, rating and reviewing us. I have I keep talking about this. Perhaps you've already heard. I've said it to a lot of people in a lot of different areas, but I'm going to say it again because I'm so proud of my team and I'm so proud of you, the listeners and the viewers, because top 10 in the world in marketing on iTunes out of all the podcasts. Think about that for a second. How many podcasts are there in the world about marketing? And our title doesn't even use the word marketing. So people, when they look for marketing, they find marketing podcast. They have to look for referrals to get Referrals Podcast. And I have to give a lot of credit to Sherry Mayer and a lot of credit to Mandy Thacker on our team for supporting this and making it happen and that kind of thing. And most of all, because there's no marketing, no advertising, no promotion for Referrals Podcast. It's 100% word of mouth and you telling people, the listeners and viewers, spreading the word. So this isn't a Referco accomplishment. This is a community accomplishment. And so for that, I thank you. I thank you, the viewer and listener, for spreading the word. And I have to tell you, I love emails that we get from listeners, like this one that we got from Nancy Lamascus from Goodyear, Arizona. She gave a 5-star iTunes review, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. She said, there's no excuse now. How to grow a referral-based business has been brought to us through the Referrals Podcast. It's time to listen up and take notes. Build your business on a solid foundation. Learn from those who've implemented what they've learned. Save your time and effort and look amazing from the get-go. Do it now. I love it. I couldn't have said it better. I think Nancy has literally given Referrals Podcast. We talk about the battle plan all the time. I think Nancy has given us the battle cry for the next year with what her advice is take the advice from people who have learned and implemented and implement yourself, and you will look amazing in the process. Do it now. I love that. I swear that's like the battle cry that changed my life was do it now. Like do it now. Do it now is short, simple, most powerful affirmation ever. And I have to tell you, speaking of powerful, today, I am so honored and privileged to be able to have a conversation with not only one of the top 10% in the world in the real estate industry. He is a realtor, but he's more than a realtor. He's a business owner and he runs a business. He is the CEO of the Tony Baroni team. Let's all welcome to Referrals Podcast, Tony Baroni. Welcome, Tony. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be on Referrals Podcast.
My pleasure.
Congratulations on top 10.
You know what? Thank you. That we set a goal internally. It was scary to set a goal externally. We probably should have told people, but it was one of those where we wanted to be in the top 10 by the end of the year. So we're in August, we started last year and we weren't even on the radar. And then we were in the top 1,000, and then in March, April, May, we hit top 200. On my birthday, I remember it was a big day. We hit it was 112. We hit number 112. And then in September, we hit 62. And then in October, we hit number 12. And we're like, man, we could do this, We
got this.
And then we just recently, the numbers came out and we were at number 10. So in the top 10. And you're talking some legendary names out there that are, Jocko and Seth Godin. And some of these are it's just like, people I grew up really following and loving their information, still love their information. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you run a large real estate team out of Tampa and Orlando. You're kind of the floor. What is the highway that connects Tampa and Orlando?
Interstate 4.
Yeah. So you're kind of the I-4 guy,
I-4.
Yeah. And so tell me what you're working on right now. Like what are, what's a big project or something that you're working on right now?
Yeah. So one thing right now is we're developing where we get the clients to call us.
Yeah.
Because over the years, we have a lot of past clients, and it becomes challenging being able to systematically stay in touch with them, for them to feel the love all the time. So we're going to do, in 2020, we're doing a giveaway every month, and the goal is to get 200 people to call into our office.
Every month.
Every month.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, to win a prize, and also we can stay in touch.
Well, and you're going to learn what they really want, because you're going to change the prizes up, and then you're going to learn the value, and that value could turn into door prizes at events. If you know the Yeti cooler everybody's calling about, then you're going to take the Yeti cooler. You'll also make it a giveaway at your event. So you're going to establish value on these items instead of just trying to think that they really want an item of value that they don't. It's not an item of value if they don't value it. So
that's right. That's right.
So how long have you been in real estate?
Since 2005.
What did you do before real estate?
I was a logistics consultant for the automotive industry.
Well, of course you were. That was going to be my first guess. Is that? No, I'm kidding. Because that is such a transition that I hear about all the time. Is logistics engineer for an automotive company. That is the transition, right? I mean, that is a life by design, and it's But okay, so what got you into real estate in the first place?
I bought my first house and fell in love with the process, and
that's how I got it.
Honestly, I thought it would be easy, but wow, was I wrong.
Yeah, what's funny is you're like, oh, that was really easy on their part, and then you see what they got paid, and you're like, anybody can do that,
Yeah, it kind of was like that, it kind of was at first. So, but yeah, I bought my first house. It's the short answer.
So what? So love that, and first and foremost, what do you love the most about real estate?
The people.
Yeah. And what was your biggest challenge in getting started in real estate? Like when you got going?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest challenge was definitely the market crashing, among other things. I moved to Florida from Illinois and really didn't have a network set up. And so I needed to meet a lot of people in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So you didn't know anybody and the market was bad. And you were right in the middle of it. You started a couple of years before that. And in Florida, it really started in 07, 08, whereas in the middle of the country, it was more like an 09, 10, 08 was really the start of the bad, and it started on the coast and kind of went in. So what did you do to conquer that challenge? What did you do to, overcome? How did you survive in 07, 08, 09, and 2010 with a small database or not knowing very many people and being new to the business?
Well, a number of things. The first thing that always comes to mind is I found an awesome mentor, and two mentors actually. One was a buyer specialist and one was a rainmaker, team leader that was a listing specialist, and really learn the business.
Sharing their name? Who?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Larry Bartow.
Okay.
And Debbie Ramiro, and they're amazing people. And if I saw them right now, I'd give them a big hug, and we stay in contact even today.
I love it. A big shout out to them. That's fantastic.
Big shout out to them.
We believe in giving credit where credit's due on here, so I love that. And so, what did you learn from your mentor, your buyer specialist, who really helped you?
Well, they taught me everything about the business. First of all, I think relationships are key. What your day should look like as a realtor in the business, and how to time management, time blocking.
Did you actually do it?
Scripts.
Did you actually do the time blocking?
I did.
Yeah. So that's what's amazing is right now we have 12,000 downloads. These people are listening to it, and not a single one wrote down time blocking or block off their time or plan their time, right? And the number one thing that would probably move the dial for all 12,000 who downloaded that puppy is figuring out what tomorrow looks hour by hour. Like that's literally the best thing that anybody could ever do from any referrals podcast we've ever done. I mean, that's the
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
The secret to productivity is it's, I mean, and people are like, well, why don't I start today? No. Today is wasted. Just throw it away. Take the rest of the day off after you do this. Just like write down what you're going to do tomorrow and then go home and play with your kids, right? Go home and take your wife out or take your husband out or whatever it may be. But then tomorrow you come to work and you do what you said you needed to do back to back to back, and you lock your door and you block anybody from, you put your phone on do not disturb if it doesn't include the phone, and you go to town. And then tell me how you feel at 3 or 4 o'clock when you're wrapping up the day and it's been the most productive day in the history of the world. And then at 4 o'clock, what you need to do is do the same thing for tomorrow and figure out what that looks like.
And Michael, I thought of, that to your point, I was talking to my coach the other day and he said, wouldn't it be funny to be a fly on the wall of this conversation? Because we were laughing about really all he was trying to do with me that day is maybe make me 1% better with my schedule. And that's all we talked about with that call, what adjustments I could make in order to be more productive and, be able to still have an awesome life beyond just business. And so it's just so funny you said that, because that's so top of mind with me right now. It's just really, time blocking and how important it really is, whether people realize it or not. It's definitely a fact.
Yeah. So show me your schedule and I'll tell you exactly how much you made last year. Right. I do that with with the people who train with us and all the way up to CEOs. Believe it or not, there are CEOs, not of large companies. They got it. Somewhere they got that lesson. But CEOs of $10 to $15 million business that do not have a time block. They're still in reactive mode way too much. And I will tell you, you cannot have an awesome life with a chaotic schedule, and the way to get rid of a chaotic schedule is planning it out, right? And it's kind of like your money, right? Instead of wondering where it went, you tell it where to go. Yeah. It's the same thing with your time. Same thing with your time. Instead of wondering where the time went, tell it where to go. Tell yourself where to go.
Speaking of that, one thing I do, Michael, I do, a 411 every Sunday night. I kind of have everything labeled out.
So what's a 411 for those that don't know it?
Yeah, so it's really in, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, annual basis, what your goals are. And on the weekly basis.
So the month is the 1, the week is the 1, the year is the 1, the month is the 1, and the week is the 4?
Correct. 4 weeks in a month typically. Yep. So that's where we.
So what you need to get done for the year, break it down to what you need to get done for the month, break it down to what you need to do for each week, and that's your weekly goal.
Absolutely.
How to Win the Week by Tony Baroni.
What's that?
How to Win the Week. So what's an example? What's something you've broken down with your 411 that was a real success? Like you really won the week that week by following that system.
Yeah. So yesterday, I always come up with the last 24 hours.
I love when people actually implement the stuff that they tell us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is
you said yesterday, here's what happened. So I love that.
A living, breathing tool. So, I have a really recruiting piece on there of who I want to recruit onto our team.
Yeah.
And so I was in a training, or I was in a breakout coaching session yesterday, and she asked me about 411. We were talking about that. And I said, you know what, let me just pull mine up. And when I pulled it up, the first thing that was on the screen was her name. And she goes, wait, my name's right there. I said, yeah, well, you were on my 411 to recruit onto her team. And I think wouldn't you say it works out? 411, when you actually put it in writing, that happens.
Yeah. You're here right now. So
you're here. You're on our team.
I teach a lot about events. And when I'm at an event, I'll teach about events and I'll go, how many of you like going to events? Right. And it's like they raise their hand because they're at an event, And I tell them all the time, you know, it's like, this is what we teach, is we teach you to have events, you know, and wouldn't you want to learn about events from a person who does events? Yes, I would. Wouldn't you want to learn from somebody who has a 411 with your name on it and we're meeting? Like, doesn't that make sense? And
sure.
Yeah. So yeah. I love that. That's a great example. And we'll follow her story as she gets welcomed to the Tony Baroni team, as she should.
Yeah, and I'll share just a little trick on there that it's really helped me is I would do my big rocks. So for your weekly, you know, I try to keep it to 5 to 6, and that maybe look like 1 or 2 personal potentially, and then 3 or 4 business.
Love it.
And then I was kind of struggling, Michael, getting it done each week. You know, I'd get half of them done, half of them I wouldn't. So
there's 6. Right.
What's that?
Because there's 6. Because there's
exactly.
a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it looks like 24 if you look at your 411 the right way. You know, because it's 4 weeks of 6 things. It's like, it looks like a lot.
So what I do, what helped me is I started figuring out, okay, well, I'm just not putting them in my schedule. And it really became that simple. Is once those big rocks were figured out, those go in my schedule now. And it's like, okay, well, this is protected for this to happen. And not to say I don't miss some weeks, but I don't miss 3 or 4 in a row. You know,
here's the deal: you win more weeks than you lose.
Right, exactly.
And that's the key, right?
Yeah.
When you're winning weeks, you're going to win the month. And if you win 3 out of 4 weeks, you won the month. So celebrate. Make that, you know. Oh my God! If I had to go through how many lost weeks or whatever I had in the last 10 years, it would be ugly. But you know what? I've won more weeks than I've lost, and in the end, we've won more as a company than we've lost. So that's
obviously
good.
Yeah.
So we were talking beforehand. So I'm going to bring in a conversation that we do. We always do kind of a breakdown before we air the podcast. So if anybody here that's a listener or viewer, if you're ended up being a guest on this, you'll know that we do this breakdown and we kind of have a discussion about flow and how it's going to go. And it's funny is I asked Tony, like, you know, how can I make this podcast the biggest win for you? Which is the question that I ask every podcast guest before we get going. And they tell me whatever, and I want to make sure I include that in what we're talking about. So what's funny is Tony goes, it's so interesting to hear that from someone else, especially you. And I was like, why is that? And he goes, like, I ask that question every day. You know, how do I make this the biggest win for you? And I'm gonna tell those of you that are listening to this that, you know, incorporate how do I make this the biggest win for you into all your meetings, first of all, and you can even incorporate it into all your phone calls. But the other thing too is if you really answer that is how can I make this day the biggest win for me? The answer is proactively blocking it off hour by hour, half hour by hour. And that is the truth, right? Are you going to get off the rails? Are you going to get off track? Yes, but the beauty of a time block is you know what's on the track. So you know you go to lunch. Instead of it being an hour, you end up chatting with your ambassador for 2 hours. So 1 to 2, you had outgoing calls and you didn't make it. All right, that's okay. 2 to 3, you're going to get back on the track with your 2 to 3. You're going to remember your outgoing calls. You're just going to put it later in the schedule, or you're going to put it on tomorrow. And now you've got this block that you can replace, right? Place and replace. So I love this. And I didn't even know that this conversation was going to go down that route. And big kudos to your mentor for teaching you, first of all, the nuts and bolts about the business, but also teaching you about the nuts and bolts of time management and blocking your time, because that really speaks to your success. Like, how many transactions did you do in the last 12 months?
230.
Yeah, 230. How many real estate companies, real estate teams do 230 transactions? Not very many, right? And what percentage of that would you say is referral, repeat and referral?
It's actually 65%.
65%. So over 50% of the business is repeat and referral. I mean, boom. You know, without that, you're looking at less than 100 transactions. You know, if it's without the repeat and referral business. So Tony, let me ask you some things about 2020, right?
Sure.
First of all, do you do a bucket list by any chance? Is there anything on your bucket list? Do you have a bucket list?
I don't have a lifetime bucket list, although I have a vision board.
Okay. So what's on your vision board? What's a couple of things that are on your vision board that you remember?
One is a puppy that
I love it.
that our family has picked out and will be picking up here shortly. So it's going to be a nice surprise for the kids.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So this will air after Christmas, so you are safe. So what else is on the vision board? Anything from a business standpoint or personal standpoint that you've taken from an abstract to be a picture and made it visual on a vision board?
One thing when we move, I always have our vision board, and I actually need to redo it right now, Michael, because we just moved offices, and so I just kind of got a glance at ours. And
yeah, do you feel like a vision board is a good idea?
Oh, it's an excellent idea. I mean, I check off everything off the list once it's on the board over time, and I've been doing this. I had an awesome mentor, like I said, for 10 years. So the one I have currently, it's actually on my 411 on my monthly to redo my vision board, because they've all been checked off for the most part. I think there's only one that hasn't, and it's surround sound in my house. And
there you go. I was going to say, what's the coolest one ever that came true from keeping it top of mind with the vision board, maybe attracting that, from the universe? Like what's the coolest one you've ever gotten? Like for me, while you're thinking about that, is my coolest one was a Porsche Boxster in my third or fourth year of the business. And it was one of those where there was no way that I was going to be able to get this brand new Boxster based on the income of my, life, essentially.
Right.
Because this was a tricked out, beautiful, and it was gray with a blue top. And long story short is I achieved my goal in October where I could pay cash for this car. And, but I couldn't find the car. I could not find a sleek silver car with a blue top and the navy blue leather seats and blue interior. So just a really rich dark blue. Instead, it's more subtle than a red or a yellow. It was just like, it was more me,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm a Porsche fan and have myself.
So what's interesting is how your family gets on board with what you're doing. We're driving on I-35 South in Olathe, Kansas, and Sherry goes, "There's your car." And I thought she meant, it came from the other direction or it was in my lane or whatever.
Sure.
And she goes, "No, right over there." And I was like, that's not that's not a Porsche dealership. Right over there was McCarthy Chevrolet, a Chevrolet dealership of all places. She had seen through the glass of the showroom this Porsche. So I went over there, and it ended up that there was a 4-month-old Porsche Boxster on their showroom. And long story short, I got the exact car I wanted. And because somebody else had already bought it and traded it back in, I got it for almost half what I had saved. And I drove it off the showroom floor that day, paying cash.
Nice.
And I'm getting a little emotional now just because it was such a big day. And I remember Sherry sitting there and she's loving it. And we go and we eat somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but at the time I drank soda pop. I don't drink soda pop now, but I opened and there was a lid. And it was the time where I think it was Pepsi or Coke was doing, if you could win things on the inside of the cap. So I opened up the cap and it was LYK. What was it again? It was LKML. It was, bottom line is letters that didn't make any sense. And Sherry goes, "What'd you win?" And I go, "Lick Vickum Bickmel." She goes, "Lick Vickum Bickmel? What is that?" And it's like, that's what it says. That's what I got. And so to this day, we have this inside joke. I'm talking 20 years later about Lick Vickum Bickmel, right? Anytime somebody talks about winning something, it's always like, like door prizes. We do door prizes, and Sherry will whisper in my ear, look, pick 'em, that's what they win. So anyway, it became this inside joke. So
yeah, I love it. I love it. Some things that just come to mind for me.
I knew if I talked long enough, you'd have all these great examples.
Well, no, so I'm a Porsche fan too. Yeah. Absolutely love. Yeah.
Amen, brother.
I had one on my vision board. I'm on my second one now, just because I love that type of car so much. I had a giving goal, and ironically, for Keller Williams Realty is who I work for.
Yeah.
And last year, out of complete surprise, I had a financial goal on there of what to give, right? And we won top 5 out of everyone in the 180,000 Keller Williams agents for KW Cares, which was just really cool. Just really cool for my wife and I, because and then I'm a baseball coach. I know your son plays baseball, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I'm a baseball coach. I have a lot of stuff like that on my vision board of coaching the kids, going to their games. And then one that was kind of recent, that about a year and a half ago, I was invited into Gary Keller's top agent group.
Mastermind.
And that's been
the mastermind?
That's been pretty awesome, just because that was a big goal of mine.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing you've learned in Gary Keller's mastermind? What's the number one thing that just like resonates with you?
There is so much stuff that Gary is.
So I'm going to tell everybody here that
comes to mind is turnover's okay. Like if you have high standards and you're 1%, you're in the top 1% in real estate, or top 0.01% of real estate, and you have high standards, it's okay it's okay for people to decide to part ways, because we need to hold them accountable, to make their goals and their dreams a reality. And if that's not working for them, it's really our job to get them there. So in more entry-level roles on your team, you're actually going to have a pretty decent turnover, most likely, if you have high standards.
Yeah. And if they're not growing as fast as you and the team are, that's another thing is some people want it to stand pat, and you're not standing pat. You're growing rapidly and that kind of thing.
Well, I think Gary really resonates to me after getting to know him. I mean, I really believe that people have no idea how giving he is, and just how caring he is as an individual. Goes along with everything you write about Michael yourself. And so he's just an amazing human being. And he could come across maybe abrupt for certain people, but if you get to know him, like, he is just one of the kindest people you'll ever meet.
Right.
Gets at a high level.
And it's great to see him behind doors, right? Is that just, he kind of relaxes a little bit, and he's still pretty intense and still gonna call you on the carpet. But the bottom line is that it's just a little more casual, and it's a little more, it's a little more like relaxed, right?
It is. Yep,
so,
it really is.
The one thing that I want people to kind of get from this section is read the one thing and really incorporate. Everybody needs to just I have this question that Gary put in the one thing that echoes through my mind all the time, which is, what is the one thing such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier and or unnecessary. And I ask myself all the time, what is that thing? What is that thing for us? And I truly believe the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. How do I make this the biggest win for you? Very powerful question. What's your biggest challenge right now? Very powerful question. What is the one thing such that if you did it, everything else would become easier and or unnecessary? That's it. And then the other thing is, what is the question that you're not asking that you should be asking to make your business bigger and better? And that's a pretty powerful question in itself. What's the question that we're not asking that we should be asking? So
your first question there, how can I make this the biggest win for you? So that's how I start every listing appointment for the last 5 years, from your book, obviously. So thank you. That has been
so what do you find out from that? Like what does that do?
Mind you, like we do a 2-page seller questionnaire before.
Yeah.
So when we go out, we're really confirming that, sometimes if it's a couple, they might not be on the same page, and one wants one thing, one wants something else.
That's right. One wants to sell fast, one wants to sell in 90 days. Right?
Yeah, because we just spoke to one, on the phone and not the other. So it really, you cut to the chase on what their goals are. And then if we know their goals, hopefully we can deliver what they are, right? So It starts with that question. So thank you very much. And by the way, I did a video for a class, and that was the question I started with on the video. And it was set up as a listing presentation in the new Bold 2.0.
That's awesome. What was I going to say? Would you be willing to share your 2-page seller questionnaire?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'd love for people to, and by the way, for those of you that don't know about Referrals Podcast, we always do a download or two from every episode. You go to referralspodcast.com, you grab it. It will be in PDF form, not Word form, so you can create your own. But the bottom line is that is a great gift from him, because it's not just a seller questionnaire. For those of you that aren't in real estate, it would make a great intake questionnaire for any potential client you're looking at. It'll give you some ideas. I truly believe that if you're not doing an intake questionnaire and an initial consultation with all your potential clients, you're probably missing out on a lot of opportunities and a lot of referrals. So love that. So, so you've already set a goal. Kind of your big project is you want 200 people to call in within 1 month. And actually you said that by the end of the year, you'd like to have it where it literally happens in 1 day. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it's actually scheduled to do it all in 1 day, at once a month for a giveaway.
Yeah.
And then we're also running a quarterly contest for online reviews and referrals.
There you go.
It's going to be ongoing for the entire year. So right now we're doing a contest as well. So we reward our clients for, obviously helping us out by giving us reviews on how we're doing.
So is that Zillow reviews, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, all of the above?
All the ones you just mentioned, and some additional ones we do. Yelp. We do Yelp, Angie's List.
So where do you know where you're at on Yelp? How many reviews do you have on Yelp, or 5-star? Any reviews on Yelp?
We have around roughly 150. We have over 1,100 5-star reviews now. And I think on Yelp, it's 150 or so, but there's a big section of that's under the not recommended section. Just basically, you can see them. It's just at the bottom. Yeah. They show like 22, I think, right now today.
Yeah, they haven't accepted them yet, right? They haven't cleared them.
Yeah.
And so
like a client can see them, but it's if they find them.
I'm going to try something for everybody that's listening. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I want everybody here to see something that has been around for 5 or 6 years, but you probably didn't even know it, right? Hey, Siri, who is the top agent, the top real estate agent in Tampa, Florida?
Working by referral is not some fairy tale world. It's real. I've seen it. And you can too. Invest in yourself by learning how to run your business by referral at Michael's upcoming live event. It will be a day filled with hands-on, how-to, low to no-cost strategies that you can implement in your business right away. Learn how to run a business by referral that not only feeds your family, but feeds your soul. Go to www.gengenevents.com today. That's www.gengenevents.com.
Okay, I found this on the web for who is the top agent, the top real estate agent in Tampa, Florida. Check it out.
So the way that they do this is 90% of it is Yelp reviews. So Siri will look at not Google reviews, not Facebook reviews, not even Zillow reviews, but it goes by Yelp reviews. And if you are way above and beyond the others in Yelp reviews, it will actually say your name. Siri will actually say, Tony Baroni is the top agent in Tampa, Florida. In this case, there were about 10 that came up. So it didn't say a specific name. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I know that for a fact because at one point, we were around 70 or 80. And what happened, guys, is I did a contest, and it kind of flagged me for doing a contest.
There you
too many reviews at a short
time.
period of time on Yelp. So, that actually backfired on me. But, yeah, it's a good algorithm.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get some from this podcast, right? Because we'll have the podcast, and then we'll do the graphic for it. You'll put that out there. I would hope that anybody listens to this podcast, you go to Yelp, and your clientele should listen to this podcast. Sure. And go to Yelp and do a review for Tony Baroni, right? Zillow, wherever, wherever.
Google My Business is probably our favorite. So if you get some value today, give us a review there, and then obviously do one for Referrals Podcast for Michael. That would be awesome. Reviews are very, very important.
They are. They're a difference maker. And people look at recency. So if there's a review from December 28, 2015, they kind of look at it and go, okay. What they really want is January 2020, They want it to be very recent. So
sure.
Any cool trips that you're doing in 2020? You going anywhere cool? Any vacations planned?
We actually have not planned all our vacations yet for 2020, but we go on 4 every quarter, once a quarter. So we'll be
for a year,
that.
Once a quarter, you'll go somewhere for a week, 3 days, or what does it look like?
A week.
Okay. Where's the coolest place you've ever gone?
We did Europe. We did a Mediterranean adventure.
Okay, so not a cruise. You actually drove it?
No, we did a cruise, but then we stayed some extra time in places we wanted to spend some extra time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We went to Hawaii.
So none of those planned yet for 2020. And for those of you that don't know, we're recording this in the previous year. So the fact that he doesn't know and you're listening to this, several weeks later, it is what it is. So where do you want to go? Where would you like to go if you could go anywhere?
Go anywhere? I really would like to check out Australia. Yeah,
there you go.
That's
hard to do in a week because it's going to take you a couple of days to get there and a couple of days to get back. But you know what? You might want to check into CRT a little bit. We have Certified Referral Trainer Program, and I think you'd be perfect for it. But it's like we're doing our elite retreat in the Bahamas at Atlantis. Have you ever been to Atlantis?
I actually have not, and it's on our list. I've been to Bahamas a lot, but I haven't been to Atlantis.
Yeah, that is a vision board. I mean, the pictures, of course, right? I mean, the pictures are just, but being there is 10 times better than any picture. So I cannot wait for that. And the Bahamas got hit really hard with the hurricane. So, we're reinvesting in that area while also getting the benefit of the event and of the group. So
sure. When is that?
April 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe. It might be even the 9th. So April. And just so you know, that's before hurricane season. So it's a good time to be down there. Spring break for a lot of people is in April too. So so there's a thought on that. So no bucket list. What do you do besides real estate, like for fun?
So I have a season pass holder for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I go to a lot of Lightning games. I'm a sports enthusiast.
Sports fanatic, right? So you like the Buccaneers?
Root for the Buccaneers. Yeah. Yep.
The Rays?
The Rays, yep. I'm also, I have my original, I'm a Cardinals fan. I grew up.
From Illinois.
Yeah.
Right. So high five on St. Louis Cardinals.
St. Louis Cardinals. Yep. Downstate Illinois.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's cool.
And then I coach baseball. Like the past 5 or 6 months, Michael, talk about time blocking.
Yeah.
I've been on the baseball field 3 to 4 nights a week for the last 5 months. We just ended our season. And my son's on 2 teams, kind of a all-star type team, and then a rec team. So I've coached. I'm on my 13th season or 14th season, and
Nice.
My daughter plays competitive soccer, so I travel, watching her play every weekend too, and so it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and that kind of answers the vacation question a little bit, because I also have a similar, with Max, we go to Disney, right? And when we go to Disney, Max is playing at the ESPN Wide World Sports. He's playing baseball. We do a couple of days in the front, we do a couple of days in the back, and it's kind of like vacation plus baseball. So, sometimes we don't even refer to that as vacation, but it really is,
Yeah, we were at the Wide World of Sports 2 weeks ago for a soccer tournament. So that's exactly what we did. And so I'll be, to make a long story short, we need to sit down, my wife and I, and figure out, sit down, and it takes a while here's the entire schedule. We'll probably go somewhere for spring break. We definitely will. My wife loves ski resorts, so we always go once a year to somewhere cold, since we're in Florida, and she's got to get her snow in where she gets grumpy. So
where's does she have a favorite ski resort?
We go somewhere. So we're the type of people on, last year on Christmas Eve, we were looking, and we literally just said, we're going here. And we didn't research it. We just booked flights. We went. We were there the next week. We're driving. Flights delayed. And it was a blizzard, literally a blizzard out. And no one was on the road. And I'm like, where are we? We're in
and you're
New
from
Hampshire.
Florida.
We're in New Hampshire, a long way from Florida. And kid you not, we see a sign and it says Mount Washington, the worst weather in America. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's you. They couldn't have advertised that any better. They should have just filmed that moment. That is so true. So that's interesting. So you're doing New Hampshire. You're not just going to Colorado. You're not just going to the same places over and over.
Well, we try to go to different places all the time. New experiences.
Good. So what's your goal for 2020? What are your goals for this year?
Serve 300 families is our goal in 2020.
I love it. And do you know what? You still want 65% to be repeat and referral?
I actually would like to increase that.
Yeah. So maybe a couple hundred transactions through repeat and referral.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's your plan in place to make that happen? What are you going to do differently from this year to increase your repeat and referral business?
So probably our number one thing is I call it the full implementation of the promise, and really, the promise is our team's theme, and we've kind of stole it from another team, and then we decided to add some stuff to it. Mike Hicks out in Idaho Falls, Idaho, came up with the promise. Are you familiar with it?
I am familiar with promising things. I try to avoid it, but I'm just kidding. But so what are you talking about? The promise of the service that you're going to deliver, or you tell me? The promise is our mission. It's stronger than the mission because it's a promise, or you tell me?
No, all it is really, we're promising that we're going to do our best of our ability to give them the best real estate experience. And then when we say that to people, essentially what we're doing is we want to know how we did at the end, and we ask for online review. Obviously, we ask for permission for that. And then if they felt like we've done such an amazing job that they are compelled to want to give us business, obviously we're receptive to that. So we're about a year and a half. We're about 2 years into this now.
Yeah.
So we just see that referral part increasing with clients by, taking good care of them, and then ultimately adding value so much that they're like, hey, so-and-so needs your help.
I love it. And what's so funny is, I really haven't been incorporated into the Maher team for 7 years. And it's amazing that I can still recall, like our mission and promise, right? Which is, the Maher team. We are a team of professionals who provide the ultimate client experience in the world so that our clients speak highly of us and refer us willingly. With the Maher team, we're not number one, you are. And that, I mean,
Love that.
It's amazing. I have not said that in 7 years, but I can remember it because it was such a vital part and piece of our everyday life on the team.
Yeah. You got to live it.
Yeah. So I love that. And then, so what is the one thing that you're doing to generate referrals that it would be the last thing you'd ever give up? Like, this is the most important thing that generates referrals. And if you think, you know what, if I don't do this, our referrals are going to go down a lot.
Yeah. It's evolved. I think it started as definitely affiliates with Allied Resources. That's always been a part of our value proposition. I've been in BNI for over 10 years. And I believe you were in BNI at one point, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Networking
so networking has always been number 4 for us. At certain points, I think it was number 2 at certain points in my career. Yeah. But it's about number 4 even right now today. So we essentially have said, anything you need, call us, and we're here to help you. And now, I do a lot of teaching across the country. So agent referrals has really increased quite a bit. Yeah. And you wanted me to have my number. So it's 25% of our business this year so far.
Was agent referrals?
Yeah, agent referrals. And it's really relationships. And some of these agent referrals are really, they look us up online and they see our reviews and they're, hey, I'm going to have someone move into Tampa, Orlando, or whatever the case may be. And then we're able to help their clients.
So there's a lot of agents in Tampa and Orlando, though, that have a lot of reviews on Yelp and on Google and that kind of thing. What activity do you think has been the most productive for generating referrals? That either you are doing or your team are doing on a monthly basis or weekly basis. And I'm talking about, I know what your goal is for next year with having a giveaway and have them call in, but that's not what's generated, 140 referrals this year, you know? So
I think it starts and, it starts and ends with, you got to deliver the service, right?
Yeah.
And if you do, they want other people to be a part of it. So I think that, the full implementation of the promise is where it starts. And then it's loving on your clients. And so we do quarterly parties, Michael, where we're inviting them to all different events throughout the year. We do 4 events every year, and then we're calling them every quarter, inviting them to that next event, essentially. And so we're showing them the love. Is what I call it.
Yeah. Love that. And so what are you going to do? What are you going to do more of in 2020 to generate more referrals? What do you think you're going to do more of?
More of, I would say with the parties, we're really, what we've struggled with is we haven't planned them all like a year in advance. So one idea right now is that we're gonna send out the whole schedule for the year to every client of this is what we have coming up.
Yeah.
Get
one of the factors of human beings, what we want is certainty, right? So when they see those 4 events, your clients feel like you're in for the long haul. It's not just an event at the last second to just do something. It fills them with an aspect of certainty and that you're in it for the long haul, right?
Sure.
So love that. So more communication around, not just about the event, but actually the series of events, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's planned out. We do something called Movies in the Park in our community. So we're showing a movie every other week. So we're doing a lot of events. I mean, it's not just 4 events. We really have, we have VIP events, our top 25 referral givers. We have our normal client parties, and then we have community events that we are the featured sponsor for. And we also do concerts in our community as well.
Okay. So that maybe leads me to the next question is what are you going to do less of in 2020 for your referral business? What's something you need to do less of because maybe it hasn't been all that effective, or it's taking away resources from your team, right?
Less of with referrals. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think what we would take away.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing newsletters. It's working. It's actually getting some momentum.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that I'm like, that's not working that we've been doing recently that I would cut out at this point.
Yeah. So you're stacking on top of what you've been doing in the past that you feel like's working, right?
Yeah.
And then the thing that we talked about earlier is like, what are you going to start doing? You're going to start doing the big giant prize that they call in to try to get to win. And then, is there anything that you're going to stop doing? Like, what's something that you've been doing for referrals over the years that you've either stopped doing it already or you're going to stop doing it?
Over the years, what have we stopped doing? I'd say, and it's not referral related, so that's why I'm kind of, the referrals seem to work for us, doubling down on that. But just spending money on random website stuff of, hey, like leads, pay for leads, I would say. We really have went away from that entirely because it's just, at the end of the day, the leads are so expensive, and we're used to, people, calling in, giving us awesome people. So we just want to do more in that direction rather than random people that we're trying to buy leads from.
And who doesn't, right? I mean, that should be the business plan for everybody who listens to this podcast. Absolutely. So what's your biggest challenge right now?
I think when we have 15, 16 people, it's how do you roadmap everything. So one thing we're working on with our coach right now is road mapping the listing side. I'm sorry, the buyer side first.
Okay.
What's the roadmap look like for the client experience?
Yeah.
And what needs added to that or taken away in that plan? And then we're going to do the listing customer journey as well. So we're starting with the buyer right now. And one thing we've done is, just from a tracking perspective, Michael, when you get to 15, 16 people on a team, as you know, some things it's just hard to track. And we have an inside sales department that is really different than others, where it's not a call center. They're more of a concierge service. Yeah. And, after they go on an appointment, we've created a hotline where, the agent after the appointment just tells us the result. And then we have our ISA department calling immediately within 15 minutes saying, I know the listing agent just came out. We just wanted to touch base and check in on you. How'd the appointment go? Did you have any further questions? We appreciate you inviting us out. And, kind of you think about Mercedes-Benz dealership, the same sort of deal. Like when you're pulling out the lot, you're getting either a review or someone's touching base with you for the concierge service. So that's some of the
straight from 7L, right? It's the courtesy call. Right. It's after the service is delivered, and the courtesy call or the courtesy text. Many people the courtesy text or the follow-up text is the thing that most people have implemented from 7L. I mean, you have a call, you have a meeting, you immediately text them and say, thank you so much. It was great. The same thing works with the courtesy call. After a listing appointment, it can be you that does the courtesy text or courtesy call, or it can be the office. We have trained dentist offices. We have trained gyms, where they do the workout with the trainer, and then somebody at the gym will call and say, how'd your workout go? Well, the fact of the matter is when somebody does a workout, they're on fire. So they're just happy they did it. So they're always going to give good feedback. And sometimes that leads to referrals, leads to other people wanting to do the same thing. So I love that you're doing the courtesy call.
Well, and another thing we have implemented recently is just throughout the transaction, our success team are sending out handwritten notes with a card. So for example, On the list side, we have 2 points that we do that. On the buy side, we have 1 at this point. And it's, hey, we cleared inspections on the property.
Handwritten note.
Mike, what's that?
So this is a handwritten note.
Handwritten note.
Yeah, yeah.
We understand you were stressed out about the inspection results. We got through it together.
Yeah.
We think you deserve a coffee on us.
Yeah.
P.S. We hope we are delivering the promise to you. So, we're doing that, and we're getting great results. Because sometimes, when you have a team where you transition a salesperson to, admin on the success team, some people are like, whoa, for a second. So that's really helped where people are very receptive once they get that. They're okay, this person has my back, just like that salesperson had my back. And it's making it very easy for us. So I wish we would have done that like 3 or 4 years ago.
It is what it is, right? You're getting better all the time, and for those listening, they haven't been doing it, and it's like, all right, you need to start with your next transaction. Put your 2 touch points in there. Post inspection with the resolution of unacceptable conditions has been signed by everybody. There is a sigh of relief that everybody tends to breathe. And then the 2 weeks before closing needs to have some type of touch, phone call, handwritten note, something where it's like, all right, we're in the home stretch. Is there anything wrong right now? And then that gives you 2 weeks to solve if there's anything wrong. The how are we doing call is a really powerful one too.
It is.
Yeah. The other beautiful thing that you've done that's really, for those of you that are growing your team, something I would suggest that Tony's doing is have more people in your transaction management than less. When you do have only 1, then it is kind of like a startle. Like, who's this calling? The transaction coordinator? But if you have a success team and it's just part of the process, you've got the salesperson, you've got the, transaction coordinator, you've got the closing coordinator, you've got the, and then you've got the team leader who touches base one way or another. Then the more people you have, the honestly, the easier it is for the client. And it sounds weird because there's going to be more communication and more things that you have to schedule, but it's actually easier on them. And it's kind of impressive that there's 4 or 5 people that are helping them out. And if they can't get a hold of one person, they know that they can go to another person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I believe that.
That's the thing. A lot of people are like sitting there and they've got themselves and a transaction coordinator, and the people sometimes are having a hiccup about the transaction coordinator. Or buyer's agent plus transaction coordinator. It's like, you know what? When you have a buyer's agent transaction coordinator, my suggestion for them is make sure you do the how are we doing call. So it adds another element, adds another person to the flow, if you will. And it's not just kind of like 2 people and it's a handoff. That's in football. Typically it's just one handoff and it's done. And in this case, I will tell you that it's a smoother transition if you can make it a flow of people versus just one person. And then Michael, if somebody leaves, then it's part of the deal, not the whole deal.
Well, and one thing too, Michael, that we're having some challenges with is, less people are answering their phone regardless.
That's right.
I mean, it's just the reality of the world. So
that's right.
We're still, I think a lot of people are going to just text, and we're telling the client that says, hey, I'm a teacher, don't call me during the day. We're saying, listen, we're still going to get a voicemail, and I hope that's okay. Is that all right? Wow. And then we're leaving a voicemail and we're texting.
So I think the big thing here is so you're doing both the follow-up phone call and the text? Is that what you're doing just to make sure that they get the message? Well, with all communication,
we're doing, well, not all, but a lot we're doing call, then text.
Okay. So
and email in most cases as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that a great suggestion for everybody here is, what is that flow of your client? What is the customer experience timeline? They're breaking it down to what's the buyer customer experience timeline and what is the seller customer experience timeline. For any business out there, to maximize your customer service, you need to timeline it out. What are the things that they experience when they're with you, and where are they feeling stress? where are they feeling elation or happiness, and be there as a strong lighthouse when they're struggling, and be there to celebrate when they're when they're happy. So the bottom line is, I love that you're doing that. That's great advice for everyone. So words of wisdom for anybody that's like listening to this, and let's say, they're just getting started in their business. They have a startup, or they're just getting started with their real estate or loan officer business. What advice would you give them as they track through this?
I had a coach that used to tell me, half the battle is showing up. So, treat your business like a business, and show up, have a normal schedule, follow your schedule, be consistent. And then I would say get a mentor. We kind of touched on all those today, but get a mentor, get a coach. I know Michael's got an awesome coaching program, and, coaching is so important. So I always use this as an example. If I go to the gym, right, when I go to the gym, am I going to give it as much as possible without a personal trainer? And for me, I'm not saying everyone. Yeah. For me, that personal trainer is going to push me further than what I'd push myself. Always. And that's just the reality. And I'm guessing the majority of people out there are in that boat rather than the other boat. And a business coach is no different. They're going to be able to see blind spots you can't see. It's going to expedite your success. And I always say, if you're coachable, because you got to be coachable. If you're not coachable, don't get a coach, because it'll be a huge waste of money. But if you're coachable and accountable, and you want to take your business to new heights, you need to have a coach. Yeah. Or a mentor in the office, accountability partner. Someone.
Right. Even an assistant. Have somebody that's holding you. One of the best accountabilities I ever got was when I got an assistant, because all of a sudden I had to show up and I had 2 mouths to feed instead of just one. And all of a sudden I became better because I had that person sitting there. And, I had to be the person who I was saying I was being. And that was a really, really good adjustment for me as well. So I agree 100%. The other part of it, I'm going to say to everyone, I mean, the people who listen to this are most likely learners and coachable, and they probably need to get a coach ASAP. The other part that I'm going to just say on that is take one piece of this podcast and implement it right now. Something that I do for webinars or when I go to a conference is I actually don't just plan for the conference. I plan for prep for attending, or prep for attending the webinar. And then I actually put instant implementation time after my schedule to make sure that I take at least 1 or 2 things from that, even if it's just forwarding it to Mandy or Sherry or someone else on the team, or if it's something I put into my blessings book for whatever it may be. But instant implementation, like watch this, listen to this, and then take 30 minutes and put one thing, not 10, not 6, one thing into place, and let it adapt and adjust your business. And so, get a coach, get some help. 80% of the success is just showing up, according to Woody Allen. And the bottom line is do it now. So I want, first and foremost, we need to express our appreciation to Mr. Tony Baroni. Tony, thank you so much for being our guest today on Referrals Podcast.
Thank you. I really had fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Fantastic. The other thing I'd like everybody to just say, hey, listen, is if you enjoy what you heard today, spread the word, share the message, rate it, review it. Please give us a 5-star if we've earned it. If we haven't, let us know why. It's podcast at referco.com, podcast, podcast at referco, referco.com. And then also, Tony, if somebody wants to get a hold of you for a referral in Tampa or Orlando, how do they get a real estate referral to you? How does somebody reach out and say thank you for the podcast, or to send you a referral?
It's all about them. So they can email us, referral at tonybaroni.com. That's TONY, B as in boy, ARONI. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Tony Baroni Team. And then our number is 813-661-2475. And just let us know how we can help.
I love it. And if you need that number again, just backtrack 10 seconds when you're listening or watching the YouTube video. The bottom line is we appreciate you. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners, for helping Referrals Podcast break into the top 10. And bottom line is we will see you next time on the next episode of Referrals Podcast. Thank you, everybody.